Okay, I think we're ready now. We got the backup video going. All right, thank you for your patience. It is 6:09. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Long? Here. Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Diedrich?
Here.
Chair Ledoux?
And I am here too. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, would you lead us in that, please? Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. All right, no presentations tonight. Are there any modifications to tonight's agenda?
There are none.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll need approval of tonight's agenda. All in favor?
I think we get some help with the microphones.
Joe's the only one. Joe's gonna have to run the whole meeting. It still works. Okay, Joe, you're up. Just a meeting of one.
We're gonna go manual for this for now. Hello, check. Okay, we back for now? Can you hear me okay out there? Okay. All right, are there any public comments, requests to speak on items that are not on tonight's agenda?
There are none.
All right, can I ask for the approval of the Planning Commission minutes from September 25th, 2024? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Nothing on the consent calendar. Moving on to public hearing items. 9.1, tentative track map number 38625 Salt Creek. It looks like the staff is requesting to continue this item off calendar. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, we'll need a motion and a second for that. Should we do that electronically? Should we risk
Yeah,
it?
let's try it electronically. You should see it up on your screens.
Yeah. It's, loading. Should hear the AOL sound.
Let's do a voice then for that.
Okay, I'll motion for that.
Okay, 1 second.
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, item 9.2, could the Deputy Community Development Director please present this item?
Thank you, Commissioner. This item was originally being processed by one of our previous planners, Brad Hamilton, which, as you know, is no longer with the city, and Brandon stepped up and taken it to the home plate. So Brandon, our associate planner, will handle the presentation today.
Thank you, Orlando. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you is the Garbani and Evans tentative track map 38766, case number PLN 23-0246, and plot plan PLN 23-0247. The project is located on the northwest corner of Garbani Road and Evans Road, across the street from the Menifee Valley Middle School and the Menifee Union School District Corporate Yard. The general plan designation for the site is 2.1 to 5 dwelling units per acre residential with a low density residential 2 zoning designation. To the north, we have the existing Hidden Hills residential community, same with the east. To the south, we have the Menifee Union School District Corporate Yard and Menifee Valley Middle School, along with a vacant residential parcel of the same general plan and zoning designation. And to the west, we have a vacant residential parcel with the same general plan and zoning designation. So the project proposes to subdivide an 18.25 acre property into 67 single-family lots at approximately 3.67 dwelling units per acre, utilizing the provisions of Senate Bill 330, which is the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. Each lot will contain a main unit and an accessory dwelling unit for a total of 134 units. ADU units per state law are not to be counted towards the overall density of the project. Additionally, plot plan PLN 23-0247 proposes the plotting and architecture for the project. The main unit square footages will range from 1,457 square feet to 1,865 square feet, along with the ADUs ranging from 749 square feet to 1,200 square feet. Overall, the main units will have 4 different floor plan types, and the ADUs will have 3 different floor plan types. Before proceeding further into the project, I want to discuss a little bit about SB 330. It was created to help address the shortage of housing in California by reducing barriers to housing development, including expedited processing of entitlements and freezing fees associated with development. In this case, the project proposes to use SB 330 to freeze the development impact fees, or DIF, and freeze the user fees, which are also our application fees. The effective fee schedules to be used that are frozen will be the ones in place on July 17th of 2023 when the pre-application was submitted for this project. And it'll be frozen for 2.5 years from the date of project approval, which is approximately April of 2027. So the tract will have one main point of access off of Evans Road on the east side of the project. In addition, it'll also have an emergency access point on Garbani Road on the south side of the project site. The internal streets will be privately maintained, but they are consistent with City of Menifee private street standards. Additionally, traffic calming measures are built into the street design to discourage speeding within the project. As mentioned previously, the plotting of each lot will include a main unit and accessory dwelling unit. The main units include a 2-car garage, while the ADUs include a 1-car garage. Each unit will have a dedicated driveway. Overall, there will be approximately 323,000 square feet of landscaping spread throughout the project, including the amenities, parkways, and front yards. For the amenities, it includes a dog park, recreation center with a pool, office, kitchen, bathrooms, showers, barbecue, outdoor seating, and maintenance and storage rooms. In addition, on the east side of the project, there will also be a linear paseo. All of the amenities will be clustered around the east side of the project and the main entrance to the project on the northeast corner of the project site. For architecture, as I mentioned earlier, there will be 4 overall floor plans for the main unit, spread between 3 architectural styles, including traditional, farmhouse, and Spanish. Enhancements to the architecture include pop-outs to provide massing of the building, shutters, and various facade materials. Here are two additional main unit floor plans. The last one, the main unit of the corner lots, will differ from the other three, as these will be dedicated for the corner lots on the interior blocks of the tract. For the ADU architecture, there will be three floor plan types matching the main unit, so there'll be a traditional farmhouse and Spanish, and the ADU will match the main unit on the same parcel, so it'll be consistent per our municipal code. And then here's the final ADU plan. For the street scene, the picture on the top, so as I mentioned, the fourth floor plan will be on corners properties. So at the top, you'll be looking at either looking north or south on each of the blocks. That is what you see on the first picture. And then looking east or west mid-block, you'll see the picture on the lower portion of the slide. We worked hard to provide a variation in roof designs and heights to help break up the street scene a bit. Other enhancement features include the varying roof styles, so it's not just the same roof type across each house. Additionally, for the recreation center, special care was taken to help blend it into the residential community while also distinguishing it as a recreation center, which includes enhancements such as stone veneer, tower elements, and shed roofs over the larger windows provided. Public notices were initially sent out on September 15th, but then the project was renoticed on September 29th for the October 9th Planning Commission hearing. Public notices were published in the press enterprise, mails to the property owners, and on-site on the project site. Additionally, we received one email, which are located in your folders, regarding resident concerns of school-related traffic due to the neighboring middle school. For the environmental determination, the city prepared a 15183 consistent with a community plan or zoning checklist, which determined that the project is exempt from CEQA due to its consistency with the city's general plan environmental impact report. With this, staff's recommendation is to determine tentative tract map number 38766 and plot plan number PLN 23-0247 exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15183 of CEQA, and direct staff to file a notice of exemption and adopt a resolution approving tentative tract map number 38766 and plot plan number PLN 23-0247 located at the northwest corner of Garbani Road and Evans Road. And this concludes staff's presentations. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Great, Brandon. Thank you very much. We got our mics back. Great presentation. Appreciate that. This time is for questions of our staff. So do we have any questions for our staff? Chris.
It's 67 homes, so how many ADUs are approved?
67 as well.
Total
All of them.
Each of them?
Yeah, so each main unit will also have an accessory dwelling unit.
But is the plan to put an ADU on each of them or only upon request of the purchaser?
The developer will be building each accessory dwelling unit.
It will be
Yes, with
regardless.
the main unit,
Okay.
yes.
That's it.
Randy, any questions for staff?
Yeah, I'd like to know how you came up with one point of access for 67 lots in the first place before it doubled.
So there is technically 2 points of access. There is the main one on the east side of the project site adjacent to Evans Road. And then there's a secondary access point on Garbani Roads for emergency access only. Other than that, I can pass it off to engineering.
Will there be pedestrian access from that private emergency
the
access?
Emergency access, there will be pedestrian access.
Pedestrian access also, okay, thank you.
Okay, so in continuation what he was talking about, the way this project is being designed, every section of the blocks has at least 2 access for the fire department. They are able to, even though there is 1 entry, for any part, if there is a choke in any part of the blocks, there's always 2 access for the fire department to access the point that's needed.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
As a follow-up for that, so not the main entrance, but the other emergency entrance, would that be usable by the residents in an escape route or would fire have to show up in order to open it, or would they be able to themselves use that as an exit point?
Typically, there's a Knox box on the EVA, so it would require for fire or PD to basically open that gate.
So they would not be able to if fire didn't show up, okay.
That's a great point, and a follow-up question to that is, fire, you said fire signed off on this design, right?
That is correct. It went through the review process. Fire had an opportunity to review and make comments, and they were comfortable with the proposed layout.
Okay. Thank you. Joe, you have some questions for staff?
Yes. What's the estimated average number of trips generation from this proposal, from this project? Daily trip generation.
We have our environmental consultant that's looking at that information, but in my experience, typically single-family residential, usually, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, it's about 10 daily trips per single-family lot. So, but we'll verify that information.
Yes. Somehow I got it, I don't know from where, but the estimated number of daily trips from this project is about 1,300. So my concern is only 1 entrance might not be sufficient for even local residents.
We have Audrey ready to provide some information.
How do I turn? Oh, it's on. Hi, I'm Audrey Nickerson. So you are correct. The average daily trip generation for the project is 1,321 trips. That being said, project-specific traffic study was done, and there were no impacts determined based on the proposed or the estimated trip generation.
Another question I have is the location of the project being next to the middle school. Some of my neighbors have kids going to this school, and I went with the parents to pick up the kids a number of times. And during peak times, people parking everywhere. So even with the emergency access, people are going to park blocking the access. People are going to park everywhere. So I really hope that the developer is going to develop a plan to alleviate the traffic condition in front of the school, whether the developer is going to work with, or the city is going to work with the school to work out some kind of a safe route. Yeah.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner. In terms of coordination with the applicant and the school, there is a condition of approval that requires a traffic management plan that exactly does that. It requires the applicant to coordinate with the school, and when it comes to road closures or road improvements, that there's coordination that takes place between the construction and the drop-off and pickup of school kids.
Joe, I'm sorry, really quick, since we're on this subject, I think it's a great topic to discuss. I don't know if our COAs are specific enough to address my concern, which is, I think and if my fellow commissioners agree with me or not, I think it'd be prudent to request that zero construction, street construction, road closures are done during the construction process, during those hours of pickup and drop off. I think if you are going to do some work in the street and you're going to do it during drop off time or pickup time, that's not going to work. So I think it'd be if you guys agree with me, there should be a specific condition of approval that prevents that kind of lane closure or construction during those whatever hours we decide.
I think this is a very good conversation, right, when it comes to, making sure that we have adequate circulation and safety around the school. I think it would be prudent to maybe ask the applicant, since they know what it takes in terms of construction and what it entails, and see if that creates any particular issues. I think that it's a valid question that definitely should be considered.
Thank you. We'll reserve that for the applicant then. I'm sorry, Joe, did you have any other questions for staff?
I have other questions for the applicant.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on.
Can I ask a follow-up
Yeah, sure.
question on that? So is the 1,035, whatever, trips per day, was that done on just the main homes, or does that include ADU?
It includes the
It
ADUs.
does include ADU, okay. And the 1,035, that's like considering AM, PM together?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, let's move on. It is 6:30. We're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing on this item. Madam Clerk, was the hearing legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
All right, and besides did we get any correspondence?
Yes, it's in your folders.
Okay, besides that, no other correspondence? Okay,
Correct.
thank you. All right, the applicant's here. Would you mind, want to join us up at the podium, please? Or the representative of? Howdy, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Ledoux and Planning Commission staff. Casson Klein on behalf of the applicant. Matt Blaine is here with Bright Sky and the rest of our team. I won't introduce them individually until questions come up. Would like to start by thanking staff for working with us diligently on this final design and layout. We went through several iterations, both in the track layout as well as the architecture, and as well as the access point. And so I want to thank Orlando and engineering and fire, and particularly thank Brandon for picking up the ball midway when the previous planner left. So I'll try to answer some of the questions that we have. First of all, we concur with conditions of approval. And I'll kind of work backwards to your question, Chairman Ledoux, but goes to the other chairman's questions. As you know, the engineering department issues encroachment permits for construction. So the city will have absolutely the final word on when we will be able to conduct construction on Evans and Garbani and whatever other construction traffic we have. And so we absolutely will work and avoid road closures during school hours. Additionally,
So that's something you would be amenable to?
absolutely.
Okay, very good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Additionally, the project is transmitted to the school districts, and I believe, I'm not aware of any comments received from the school district with those concerns. However, to repeat, yeah, we will stipulate to that. Touched on the point of access that was really driven by the engineering department and fire, that access point on Garbani. And so at the end of the day, that's the design we came up with. I think, Commissioner Thomas, your questions about the ADUs have been asked or answered. School traffic, existing traffic, that's an existing issue. We don't anticipate that we're going to be contributing to that. Any children that may be living in our tract will walk to school. Should be noted that Bright Sky will retain this project ownership, and will have a management company that manages it. So with that oversight, we should be able to control any issues from our tenants.
These are going to be rental units?
I'm sorry?
These are going to be rental units?
Correct. Correct. Unless I missed something, I think I've answered all the questions that you folks had to begin with. So unless you have follow-up questions for me or our team, we're here.
I do. Let's go back to the Garbani access. It's for emergency fire access and pedestrian access.
Correct.
We know that there's probably going to be kids living in that neighborhood that are going to go to that school. They're going to walk out there and they're going to go, hey, my school's right across the street. I'm not walking to the end of the street where the crosswalk is. I understand that there are general conditions of approval that you've agreed to, it sounds like, that state that you're amenable to any kind of mitigation that might be needed at that, well, just in general. I think specifically, I want to make sure that you understand that that could include what I'm picturing, maybe something like the signals that we put in at Salt Creek Crossing, something like that. That is on the table for you guys, and that would be something that you'd be willing to do if the city decides that that's something that has to happen for the safety of the kids.
Yeah, I would say that we would want to make sure that one, engineering and the school district, because in my experience, during school hours, schools are required to provide crossing guards. So, at least in the Murrieta School
Right,
District.
yeah. It's a thing of the past in Menifee at the moment, yeah. Unfortunately.
So, but yes, to answer your question, and we anticipated that, and it makes sense. So yeah, as long as engineering, doesn't have any issues with it, which we doubt they would, absolutely.
I'm glad. That makes me happy to hear that you're willing to consider that. One other question from me is, so private streets, not city maintained. They'll be maintained by, that's correct, right?
Correct.
So they'll be maintained by the management company or the owner that's retaining it?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that actually, because you mentioned that, it kind of negates my question. The owner of the property is going to be responsible for maintaining the streets. Okay. So I'm good with questions for you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, Ben, go ahead.
So I guess I didn't realize that this was a build-to-rent project. So are the ADUs going to be rented as standalone units, or is the parent property and the ADU going to be rented together?
Matt Blaine from Bright Sky will answer that question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. So yes, every individual unit will be rented individually.
Individually, so,
Yep.
okay.
Correct.
So a family can rent the main house, and a completely separate family or individual will be able to rent the ADU?
Yes, that's correct.
Is there any kind of fencing or anything between the main house and the ADU?
Yes, there is. That's correct. It will have a side yard fence, just as typical in a single-family for sale community.
So the ADUs will have their own little fenced-off area?
That's correct. Every accessory dwelling unit has its own garage,
Saw that.
attached garage with the driveway, front yard, side yards with the rear yard.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
Joe?
One question about the secondary access road. Is it possible to make it to make it fully accessible for all residents? Or right now it's only for emergency vehicles?
Let me go ahead and jump in on that question, Commissioner Long. As Mr. Casson indicated, this was a topic of discussion during the review process with multiple departments. So initially, when the applicant submitted the application, they in fact actually had a full access, full street access at that point. And during the process, we discussed obviously the potential issues of parents parking either at the intersection or potentially, since this street may or may not allow for parking, also parents actually going into the development, parking on site and creating other issues. So it was decided as a team that it was better to have an EVA that would alleviate some other issues that may come up with having a full access at that particular location.
So it's because of the school traffic. Another question, the main entrance, is it gated or is it open?
It is not, it's not a gated community.
Okay. Being next to the school, I think I can, my house is next to an elementary school too. And during peak times, people park everywhere. People get into our community and park everywhere. So looking at your project, I think you're going to get parents parking within your project, just waiting for their children. So it's one thing that it's going to happen. So I don't know whether a gated feature would really help. I have another question, so if you can address that issue first.
Sure. Yeah, we studied, extensively the private versus public, gated versus not gated, and we came to the conclusion that we have private streets. We also have permanent on-site maintenance and management company that can enforce, parking restrictions and rules. So there will be an enforcement arm within our, property management that could, enforce the parking restrictions upon people who are from outside of the community.
During peak times, can students walk from the school through your emergency access, walking to the other side, to the main entrance for pickup?
We do have pedestrian access from the main entrance down Evans Road along Garbani Road. So there is accessible pedestrian access in and out of that community.
Okay.
From both entrances or just from the main entrance?
From the main entrance, and I don't recall, I don't believe we have another entrance.
I thought you had asked whether there is pedestrian access.
There is pedestrian access on Garbani, but not vehicular.
Pedestrian only.
There is pedestrian
Yeah.
option at both.
So I think Joe's asking if if kids are gonna get out of school, they're gonna go across the street, they're gonna go through the pedestrian access on Garbani, and they pop out on Evans to go find whoever's picking them up from school or go to their house.
Another question about school traffic. Once your project is completed, you're going to have a sidewalk along the Garbani Road. So actually, you are eliminating a lot of parking for parents. So parents would have to park further away. So that's a parking problem for the school.
So that's a good point. And however, while it may create that issue, it answers another issue that has been brought up several times by a couple of the council members. As you'll recall, earlier this year, last year, there was a hearing on the project to the west of us. And one of the comments, I'm sorry, east of us, yes, thank you. I wasn't at that hearing, but I watched it on the live feed, and a couple of the comments made by the council members were that they wanted the trail and the sidewalks, and there were comments made about the lack of sidewalks and safe routes to school here. So that's an amenity. Well, I'm sorry, it's not an amenity. It's a requirement of improving our project frontage. Your point is well taken. Unfortunately, projects can't solve existing problems such as this, and with the school. So we've worked with staff and come up with what we believe, and staff agrees with us, is the optimal design and balance for everybody, for the city and for us.
I have a comment. Remind me when we get back to discussing it amongst ourselves that we'll talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant?
One last question. For your rec center, correct me if I'm wrong, is there any parking lot spaces for visitors or for additional parking just for the swimming pool?
Yes, parking.
For the
Yeah.
recreation center?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there are 3 parking spaces available.
Oh, 3. Okay.
And the amenities are just for this community. They're not.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you guys doing anything about preventing residents from parking along Garbani?
No, and I don't know how we could limit that to just the residents without it becoming a no parking zone.
Staff, I think, and I was going to go along with, talk about this with Joe and the commissioners at a later time here in the meeting, but I think getting rid of cars sitting on the street waiting for kids is a good thing, because now you don't have blind spots where kids are popping out from in the middle of a car. So getting rid of the parking spaces, I think, is important, and effectively forcing parents to get in line and follow the lines to go through pickup. Is there a consideration that is there something we can consider about preventing residents from parking along Garbani? Or, yeah, even during pickup? I suppose this is something we can talk about when it gets to us.
Chair Ledoux, Nick Fiddler, Public
Hi.
Works Director. There are portions of Garbani that are already posted as no parking, so that might answer some of Commissioner Long's questions. But yeah, more than likely, we will post no parking along that corridor.
Good. Awesome. I think that's a good idea. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, and you've agreed to all the conditions of approval?
Thank you.
Great,
Appreciate it.
thank you. All right, moving along, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this item?
I have none.
You have none? Okay, fantastic. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this item? Going, okay. Ms. Sanchez? We'll have to adjust the podium. Do we need to have her fill, we know her, but do we need to have her fill out okay. What's that? Gloria, sorry, he says the power is out on that thing, and we're not going to be able to adjust it. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
That's terrible.
Can you, as long as you can hear me, okay. First of all, I didn't see the entire project, but I just want to bring up a couple of points that I think are really important to the residents living there. I do believe that there should be another access road, enter and exit for the residents, and the reason why is for emergency if we have a disaster. What kind of disaster plan? You know, if you have to leave it for some reason, you only have one way in and out. That's not good. The emergency first responders, they can come in either gate. It doesn't make any difference. But I do believe that for residents, it's really important. I live in a gated community. We have 3 gates, 3 exit gates. We have the 2 exit gates, and we have one in the front for residents only. And when we have the emergency responders come in, depending on where they come in, it's life or death, depending. So that's really important. I think that when you have access, pedestrian access gates, should they be locked? Because people can get in there if they're not locked. We have where you need a key to open up that gate, because if it's going to be just for the residents, you don't want people just walking in and going into the clubhouse and using all that. So that's why we have any pedestrian gates, they have to have a key. So we need to look at security for the people who live there, for the children who are there, and we need to have a very lighted area so that they feel comfortable walking their streets. But I do believe that access gates are really important for the people living there for safety. Thank you.
All right, great comments, Gloria, thank you. I think the applicant did address the management on site and security measures that they're going to have in place to deal with people that aren't supposed to be there, so I understand that point. Mr. Klein, did you want to add something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to
seem like you have
reiterate,
something you want to say.
I respect Gloria very much and understand her concerns. And again, we went through quite a bit of design with both engineering and fire.
Understood. We'll talk about that. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. It's 6:49. We'll close the public hearing on this item. All right, this is the time for us to discuss. Go ahead, Randy. This is for us, right?
Yeah.
IT, can we get assistance with the mics, please?
Typical project. This project would not even be before us if it was not mandated by the state. This is not our idea. This is not on our general plan. True, it fits the zoning, but it took a 10-pound bag of potatoes and put 20 pounds in it. So I have a lot more questions I didn't bring up here, and that's what I wanted to add to this. So.
What other concerns do you have that we can talk about amongst ourselves?
Well, the concerns are we had 67 units. Okay, we doubled that. And we're ignoring that there's a common driveway. We're happy we got a little side fence. I mean, these guys did a great job, and staff did a wonderful job too. And engineering did a great job on the traffic and all, but it's not there yet, in my opinion.
Well, you heard them say that the state doesn't allow us to include the ADUs with the density calculation. So
Right.
So that's out of our hands.
No, all of it's out of our hands.
Is that kind of your point?
Yeah.
So like, why are we talking about this? Because we can't.
No,
really
I'm
do
not
that.
saying why are we talking about it. I'm saying take a different look. Don't ignore the fact that it's not the typical project.
I would have to agree with that because the density is.
You're going to have to talk into the mic, Chris. Sorry.
The density is supposed to be
Going old school.
2.1 to 5, and if you work out the total of units, it's 7.3 units per acre. So basically, the state is forcing our hand. I just want to say, we're in a city council election, and I don't say it from a political view, who to vote for. What I'm saying, the chatter out there, complaints to us as planning commissioners, is too much traffic and density. That's what's on the map right now. This is an example of the state taking control away from the local municipality and forcing it. Exactly what he said. Now, I think they did a good job designing the project. I'm not against ADUs. I'm considering building one on my own property. I see the purpose of it, but we do have a general plan and we have zoning. And basically, it is sad that we have to have this many units right next to school that it's going to make hell for traffic. That's just the harsh reality of it. It's not the developer's fault. It is the state. So whoever's watching, whoever's going to watch, this is the effect of what they're doing. So.
Commissioner Thomas, if I can just make one point of clarification. Yeah. The density that's currently proposed, it is within the density range identified in the general plan, because
he was just recalculating it with the ADUs.
Correct.
Just you're correct. Legally, it is within the range of 2.1 to 5. Exactly. Realistically and practically, how we're going to live with it, it is 7.3. So, I wanted to state that for the record.
All right. Any other discussion items amongst ourselves, Ben?
I just mirroring what fellow commissioners are saying, I do have a good mic. Well, I just have a good voice, that's all. It does change it for me too that this is a build to rent project. So it's not, we're not just smacking ADUs on and the people are buying it and they're getting a second one to put their mother-in-law in, right? This is now effectively doubling the amount of residents that are going to go in there, which I get under the state law says that, but it just feels like gamesmanship in order to achieve doubling it. Because in my mind, an ADU is something that's built on each particular project by the landowner to have, and this doesn't seem to fit like that. So it feels different.
And what's amazing is that if you look at the ADU size, it is, what, 700 to 1,200 square feet?
Yeah.
That's as big as some of the main residences. So go ahead and finish your point, and I have another one.
I'm just reiterating that that's a concern of mine, as well as not having a second ingress and egress for the residents. If a disaster occurred and the one exit was closed, if fire can't make it there in time, there's no exit for the residents. I don't like projects that only have a single in and out.
I'll mirror that in that I do not like one entrance projects. We see what's going on in North Carolina, and if you look in Chimney Rock, there's just no way out. Obviously, we're not in fear of storms here. We are in fear of fire. We're in fear of other kinds of things. So I'll have to ask staff. I understand why you're doing a one entrance concept here, to keep people from driving in on Garbani. Is there any way of having that entrance and yet mitigating that with maybe gated or spikes or something? I know you've been round around engineering and all that. What can mitigate it?
I'll suggest
And I'll apologize, and I'll say that because you're throwing 132 homes in here. And each of those has its own garage, which means you're doubling the cars. So go ahead.
I'll suggest a couple of suggestions, and then I'll allow engineering to provide any additional input. But one, obviously, in order for us to have a full access, obviously the map would require some modification, right? Because we don't have the right of way to do it. So one of the options would be if this EVA could perhaps be an exit only, obviously with a gate exit only that would allow residents to exit, not enter through there. And I don't know if that would require some modifications. I'm just throwing it out there as an idea, and maybe I would ask the applicant to, or the applicant's engineer to perhaps provide an additional input. That's a suggestion. Again, I don't know what type of modifications are required to the map as currently proposed. And with that, I can allow engineering to provide additional input as well.
So tagging on to that comment, when we did our one-on-ones reviewing this project, it was my understanding, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe I misread it, that not every home would have necessarily an ADU. It was going to be either optional to the purchaser, or is that map presented with an ADU on each and every lot? Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So let's go ahead and talk about the option of an exit only or something. You're probably going to lose a lot, right? I would imagine. Someone want to come up, engineering?
Yeah, Orlando, did you want to have engineering step in?
Well, if they have any additional input they can provide, again, I don't recall, it may be Brandon, the exact width of the EVA, and if that width would accommodate, residents to use it as, it should, if it fits a fire truck to go through there, it should fit a regular vehicle, obviously, but if there's any modifications required to make that an operational exit-only gate.
Go ahead, Casson.
So a couple things. I'll address the EVA. That again, we dealt with, the best of my recollection, we considered that with fire, and fire was opposed to that. I want to go.
Fire was opposed to having an exit only.
My recollection. Yes, they wanted it restricted as an EVA only. They didn't want it to be able to have vehicles coming and going.
Is that your understanding too, Orlando?
That's
Obviously, the process has gone through several reviews. Definitely, both engineering and fire were part of those conversations. And what's before you tonight, it's what was recommended for approval by the city, which includes the fire department as well. So, if an exit only was a viable option or an option that the fire would have supported, I think that's something that probably would have been recommended as well.
A couple other points I'd like to address, if I may.
Sure.
To Commissioner Diedrich's comment about gamesmanship.
I'm sorry, real quick. Do we need to reopen the public? Yeah. Sorry,
I would
Cassie.
recommend it.
Huh? You'd recommend it? Okay. Let's go ahead. It's 6:59. We're going to reopen the public hearing. Sorry, go ahead.
From day one, we presented the ADUs, which, and your city attorney can tell you, I mean, we could have brought this in as single family with no ADUs and then come in after the fact without it coming to Planning Commission, and it would have been substantial conformance or staff approval. So we have been above board from day one.
I don't know that staff knew that this was going to be a for rent.
No, they absolutely knew. Yeah. We, Chair Ledoux, I'm no stranger to anybody in this city, and we have been above board and completely transparent from day one and worked.
I understand that.
Very tirelessly and collaboratively with staff. And I'll just finish up with. I don't think you meant you were. I understand. This is. I get that. I'm not taking it personal. This is more for anyone that may be watching or for the public record. Well, yes, correct. Yeah, I mean, there's two ways of doing this because of SB 330, right, and ADUs. We either could show it, and this goes to Commissioner Thomas's question about, the ADUs are on each lot. We designed it in collaboration with staff to make it look like a tract development that you don't know what is the main residence or what is the ADU. And that's, if you will, the beauty of this design and this tract layout and the architecture.
Randy, you're going to have to get the mic, please. Sorry. Just grab this one. Just because
No, Cassim, we don't have any, we like the project. We don't like the double.
You don't like the state shoving it down your throat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
100%,
So you
understand.
guys did a great job. I said that earlier. I like your architecture. I don't like the rental part, but that's none of my business, so.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to be clear, my comment was that in the staff report that we reviewed prior to this meeting, there was no information about this being a rental project. And when I had questions about it, it was unclear. So that was the point of me.
Okay.
Making
All
that
right.
comment.
And I believe one of our consultants wants to address, I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
The emergency egress. My name is Danielle Fergosa. I'm the civil engineer from Hunsaker. So you have a concern for emergency egress. The main entry off of Evans has an entrance and an egress, and the entrance is 24-foot wide. So in the emergency situation, they can go exit from the egress and the entrance drive aisle. So there's two ways to go out. From the
Saying
entrance.
it's wide enough to get two cars going out. the
Yes,
same
2
route.
lanes, yeah, divided by the curb island.
Thank you. Does that
So-
curb your?
I have a professional question for you. Have you ever designed a track of 67 lots with one point of access?
No, I have not.
I have not either. 30 is the most
Correct.
that I got away with.
We did see on Google Earth, there is another project in the city of Menifee with the same size of this project, and it's the same situation, has one main entry and then an EVA. So that's kind of how we address their concerns regarding the access from the parents from the school going through the project site. We saw that as an example to use. So there is one in Menifee currently.
Well, thank you for your honest answer.
Okay, you're welcome.
Joe, you're up
Yes.
next. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have comments on the topic that we're on?
Yes, I
Okay,
have
go ahead. Yeah,
comments.
let's do that. Let's stick with that.
For the ADU, some of the ADUs have 3 bedrooms and only 1 car garage. So for tenants, most likely they might have one plus car, so they're going to be parked on the street. So if you rent out the 3-bedroom ADU, most likely 1 car garage is not sufficient, so they're going to be parking their car on the street. That's a concern. And for the emergency access, I still think having 1 main entrance is not sufficient. That one should be expanded. However, I think there's another way to open another access road on the Ivans Road, southern part should be opened up as another entrance. But I'm very concerned about having 1 access road entrance right now. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Go ahead, Cass.
And I appreciate that concern. And again, this is what Bright Sky does. I'll have Matt address that. I wanted to answer Commissioner Madrid's question. If you're familiar with a tract down off of Jackson, kind of the back entrance into Sam's Club in Murrieta, Jackson and Magella, there's 1 access point. There's 140 single family, they're 5,000 square foot lots. So they're smaller lots. And there is an emergency gate, EVA gate out the backside. So that's the only track that I'm aware of. I think Nick wanted to say something.
I just want to add one more thing, Cass. So the difference between renting and buying is you don't have to build anything that you're going to have to sell. The seller would say, oh, I'm not going to move there. There's only 1 point of access or something along those lines.
Say that again?
So being that you're not selling these, you're not going to have the buyer's discretion.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Chair Ledoux, Commissioners, Nick Fiddler, Public Works Director. As Casson has stated, many others, engineering, planning, fire, we've looked at this all ways to Sunday, trying to figure out how to gain adequate access. The traffic on Garbani, I'm sure most of you may have had kids that went to those schools. You see what happens at 8 in the morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's with 1 school operating. There's a potential to be 2 schools in that same area. I mean, the district owns all the way from the corner of Evans to the middle school. So that's our concern of why we're trying to limit the amount of accesses onto Garbani. Commissioner Long, your question in regards to adding a second access off of Evans, we've looked at that as well. There's just not enough space between entrances and exits to meet our city standards. The distance between driveways, intersections, as Daniela pointed out, they are oversizing the drive accesses in that event. They're 24 feet, so we can get 2 vehicles out in case there's a major emergency. And if necessary, the EV, we could force residential cars through it if it had to. I mean, if it came to a mass exodus of that development. So there are multiple exits. So that's been staff's concern is the amount of traffic that generates by that school district, the potential for expansions, and then having conflicting movements. And same thing with the a one-way exit. It's just creating another conflict point. There's like 4 or 5 driveways that cross the street to the schools that are entering and exiting, stacking up in the left turn lanes. Adding an additional conflict zone just didn't feel like the right solution for that community. And also, if you're doing that, or how are you going to control traffic coming out of there if it's gated? Are the residents going to have a clicker? Are they going to have to push a button? You know, or is it just going to pull up on a loop and it opens? If that's the case, then traffic's just going to start going right through it. So, like I said, we've worked closely with Casson and his team on different options of trying to make this the best it can be in the current situation that it is.
I just wanted to, and none of this was really an argument. It's just fact-finding, and we have to do this for
It's good, healthy discussion.
For our our constituents. We have to, and we have a great explanation now, so thank you.
Casson, can I ask you one more question? When do you intend to begin construction as soon as possible, assuming it's approved?
I'll Matt answer that, yeah. Thank you. So I'd also like to address the parking question. I think there was a comment towards that. Again, I'll go back to the on-site management and enforcement. We are not going to allow garages to be used for personal storage and other facilities, so they will have to park their vehicle within the garage. There's obviously also additional parking in the driveway, as well as on street. The overall parking requirement is more than satisfied from a requirement perspective. As far as commencing on the grading activities, development activities, we're going to immediately jump into the engineering and process that as quickly as we can with the intention of getting started on this project as quickly as we can.
Right. Any more discussion amongst ourselves? Oh, we have the public hearing still open. Yeah. It's 7:10. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay. So, any more discussion amongst ourselves? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yes. I think we should ask applicants and the staff to look into second access road.
I think they have. I think they said they've looked at it 7 ways from Sunday, and this is the best that they could do. I agree with you, but
Yes.
it sounds like they've exhausted all of the opportunities and alternatives. So that's my understanding from our discussion here today.
I see.
I could add on to that, Joe, that because it is a double wide entrance, that alleviates some of the exiting the risk. I'd rather see a second one in there, but the mitigating circumstances of Garbani makes it difficult to have that second.
I mean, if they're gonna have on-site management, it would seem to me it would be possible at least that in an emergency situation, someone in the office could hit a button and open that gate. Otherwise, it stays closed. But that's not my job. I'm not an engineer. I don't do that stuff. So it sounds like they've discussed it.
So I was gonna add the comment that I will vote yes on the project because of the way they've designed it, and that under staff's recommendation of the design, that it's the best it can be. But I am voting under protest for the crap that we're getting from the state that is forcing this issue. I could almost live with this in another location, but right across from 2 schools is crap. So when you're voting, just thank the state of California for this nonsense.
Noted. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Joe, one last comment?
Yes. I just learned it from one of the speakers that the project is actually a rental. From all the documents, I was assuming it's going to be for sale, each unit. So it should have been made clearer in the document. I was very
Noted.
surprised and
Thank you.
unprepared.
Yeah. All right, there's one resolution for adoption. We'll need a motion in a second to approve staff recommendations.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
my apologies. Just as an aside, staff will remember that for the next time. However, just for clarification, these lots are single-family lots, and while the developer is looking to provide these for rent, because under state ADU law, ADUs can be rented and it doesn't have to be owner occupied. However, in the future, if they so choose, it is possible to sell each of these lots individually as single-family residential homes, because that is how the development is set up.
Can I ask a question about that? Because I specifically asked this in our one-on-one. And each lot has a primary and an ADU. So if they're going to sell the ADU separately, do they not have to split the lot? They don't have to split it?
No, they would have to sell both units under one lot.
They would have to sell
It-
both units?
Yeah, they would have to, correct. It's one single-family lot that has 2 units, so if they sell that lot, it's sold with the 2
You're
units.
buying the 2 units? Okay. Just wanna-
And just as a land use matter, whether it is for rent, for the staff report, we understand for informational purposes for the community and for the commission. However, for purposes of land use determinations, it is not particularly relevant, unfortunately, in deciding whether this is an appropriate land use or development, whether it is for rent or for sale. Thank you.
Understood, thank you. Okay, again, we'll need a motion in a second to approve staff recommendations. Are we going to attempt to do that electronically?
Commissioner, if I can just make sure that your motion includes a couple of the revisions to those conditions that were attached or that were included as part in the blue folder as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, can we please do a verbal motion in second? Can I get a motion?
Who wants to motion this? We have to do it verbally.
Just a verbal, we're going to do a verbal vote instead of electronic.
Can I ask a follow-up question based on the letter that's in this blue folder? It says the County of Riverside Department of Health says they have to remove potable water, sanitary sewer. Are there existing septic on this thing? What's going on with that?
It's a standard common condition that they place on a lot of our projects, so just as a, yeah.
So there's no old structure there with old stuff going on? Okay.
We do need a verbal motion and a verbal second.
I'll make the first motion.
In a second, please.
I'll second. Under duress.
Okay, Commissioner Long,
Abstain?
Commissioner Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Diedrich,
No.
Chair Ledoux.
Yes. Results? I didn't keep track.
That passed 3-2.
3 to 1
It's-
to 1.
Correct. 3 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstain. Thank you.
Commissioner Long abstained. Are we the deciding body on this, or does it go to council?
No, it doesn't have to go to council, correct? Yeah.
All right, thank you. We have another item that we want to get to, so we'll give you just a couple of seconds if you don't want to stick around for the rest of this exciting meeting. All right, moving on to 9.3 with this is the Menifee West Coast Self-Storage. Could the Deputy Community Development Director please present this item?
Thank you, Chair. The next item will be presented by Associate Planner Fernando Herrera.
Thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission. The item before us is for Menifee West Coast Self-Storage, PLN 23-0215, 216, and 218. The proposed project is located near Romoland, north of Jackson Avenue, south of Highway 74, in between 3rd Street, 4th Street, and Ethanak Road. The general plan and zoning designation of the property is Business Park. The project proposes to construct a 71,741 square foot storage facility across 7 buildings on the 4.06 acre lot. CUP 23-216 is going to be for the proposed operation of the facility. The applicant didn't ask for a minor exemption, which is PLN 23-0218, for the increase of lot coverage from the allowed 40% to 40.5%. This is what the site plan is going to look like. The buildings are going to be located in the central portion of the project site. It is a long linear parcel, and then both sides are going to have water retention basins and landscaping. Access is provided to the site on both 2 points of access, which do provide full access. 5 parking spaces will be provided. They were required to only provide 4. There is additionally loading areas within the storage facility itself. Here we have what the landscaping is going to look like. It does have a combination of different drought-tolerant species that will be incorporated into the project, as well as ground cover. The proposed architecture of the facility, the applicant did work with us to ensure that it met the design guidelines of providing breakage for every 50 linear feet. And this is what the renderings are going to look like. Public notices were sent out on September 29th and for this meeting today. All relevant public agencies and interested parties were noticed. We did also provide on-site posting. We did receive 3 comments from agencies, one of which was a comment of no comment and 2 standard comments. The environmental determination for this project is that it would be exempt under CEQA Class 32 infill development projects. It is consistent with the general plan zoning code within city limits. It's not on a lot that's smaller than 5 acres, has no value of endangered species, no significant effects will be caused as a result of the project, and will be adequately served by all utilities. With this, it is staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission determined that the project is categorically exempt under CEQA, Class 32 infill development, and adopt a resolution approving plot plan PLN 23-215, conditional use permit PLN 23-216, and minor exemption PLN 23-218. This concludes staff's presentation. We are available for comments or questions, and then the applicant is here too.
All right, great, Fernando. Thank you very much. I do have to say that you got to hand it to self-storage developers. They are masters at finding unique shapes and sizes of lots and creating the development that kind of works. I'm an appraiser. I've appraised several of them, and a lot of them are on some pretty strange sites. So kudos to the developer. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So do we have any questions of staff on this project? Okay. All right, it is 7:21. Let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, was this hearing legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. And did we receive any correspondence?
Yes, we did. That's in your folders.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, the applicant is here. Would you mind joining us at the podium and introduce yourselves for us, please?
Good evening. It's Orlando Moron-Velez with Magellan Architecture. I've been leading the project for the past 11 months, working hand by hand with Orlando and the rest of the staffs, and also with the developer that is present in the room.
Thank you. Just one question from me. Do you agree to all of the conditions of approval for this project?
Yes, correct. I agree with all of the conditions of approval.
Okay. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Go ahead, Joe.
Can you go over with all the security measures for the project?
Yes, correct. So every self-storage facility has a security system, including cameras throughout the entire site, as long as with a keypad or any access control that is actually just dedicated to every tenant. The security system is something that is controlled by the management company, and the developer is going to be hiring the proper company to develop and create the plan completely for the security system. The security system is going to be linked to the main management program that the facility has. And regarding the fire alarm system, there is also an interconnection between the security and the fire alarm that is actually the one that connects with the police and the fire department. Yeah, there is an integration between both systems.
Is there going to be on-site attendance 24 hours a day? Or?
No, there is no any plan to have a person that is going to be living in the facility. The business hours for the staff is going to be limited per the conditions that we provided to the staff. The office is going to be open the 7 days of the day, the 7 days of the week, but it's with a limited time. So the public or the tenants are going to be allowed to access the facility also in a limited period of time.
Yeah. What's your time for tenants access for tenants?
The tenants are going to be allowed to be on site from Monday to Sunday. Again, let me see the notes. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. And on Sunday, they are going to be on the facility from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sorry, that is the leasing office. Tenants, the correct schedule is 6 a.m., 10 p.m. Yes, every day. So, yeah, my mistake.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this item?
There are none.
Is there anybody that would like to speak on this item? Okay, it is 7:25. We'll close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion amongst ourselves? Any concerns?
I think it's a good use for the spot. I think it's a good use for the spot. If we're going to have storage, that's the place to put it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't think there's much else that could go into that lot. I think it fits perfectly where it's going there.
All right, moving on. There is one resolution for adoption. We'll need a motion and a second to approve staff recommendations, and we're going to do that
Verbally, please.
verbally. I'll go ahead and motion that one. All in favor? Or you want to, I'm sorry. You want to go down the list?
I'll go down the list
Let's do that.
for the record.
Let's do that.
Commissioner Madrid? Yes. Commissioner Thomas? Yes. Vice Chair Diedrich?
Yes.
Chair Ledoux?
Yes.
Commissioner Long? Yes.
So-
Approved unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you. Sorry, I was thinking I was going last. I didn't want you to forget Joe, so that's why I hesitated. Can't forget Joe. All right, no discussion items tonight. Do we have any reports from the Community Development Director?
Just have a comment. The Planning Commissioners Academy next year, it's probably 3-4 months away. So I think registrations are going to start soon. So we will be reaching out to you to give you some information in terms of the location and see who's interested in attending next year's Academy. So it's going to be Northern California. I
Thank you,
believe-
sir.
Well, obviously, I'm throwing it out there for those that are, that are obviously staying just to start looking at your calendars and stuff like that. So obviously, more information to come.
All right, thank you, sir. Any reports from our commissioners on any seats they're on? No? I don't know why I was blank there. Any future agenda items for us? All right, it is 7:28. The meeting is adjourned.